A warm welcome to today's talk, and happy Christmas Eve and happy Christmas for tomorrow. Fairly brief update today. In China, the R0 seems to be about 18 or 19, and the virus is just spreading throughout the country quicker than we had anticipated. And following up from yesterday's video where we looked at Moderna building a plant in the UK to build 250 million vaccines, generate 250 million vaccine doses per year, you'll be pleased to hear if you're in Australia, you're getting a plant for 100 million, and if you're in Canada, you're getting a plant for 100 million doses per year as well. We'll be looking at that briefly. Now, China, this is the Chinese Centre for Disease Control. Now, they had a meeting recently, probably about last Wednesday or something, and it's leaked. It was supposed to be behind closed doors, but on Tuesday, there was 37 million new infections in China. Absolutely massive. 205 million so far, that's 18% of the population. Major cities like Beijing and Shanghai, 50% already infected. The official figures of 4,000 look ridiculous and indeed are, but the Chinese don't really claim to be keeping accurate figures in terms of official figures anymore. 8 deaths reported, that is definitely an underestimate. There will be some deaths, unfortunately, associated with this. But there again, the reports that we're seeing in the Western media about backlogged crematoria are probably exaggerated as well. There's been a bit of biased reporting going on, unfortunately, it would appear, in some aspects of the media. So the Chinese really aren't collecting data at the moment. This will come out to some extent, but I'll be giving you some figures that are probably fairly accurate for what we can expect in terms of deaths. We had expected this to go on till about April in China, but the exponential spread is so massive, as we say, with an R value of 18 or 19 or 20, that basically everyone in China is probably going to be infected by about February. So it's probably going to be over quicker than we had thought. Now, this is from the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation that we've looked at quite a few times on this channel, based in University of Washington, Seattle. They're estimating that by the 1st of April, there'll be 293,127 deaths. But remember, this is from a population of 1.4 billion people. And that would give us an infection fatality rate, if this is accurate, of 0.000207. So a very low infection fatality rate. And these people will be virtually all have comorbidities or be elderly or have other ongoing health issues. So it's still not ideal, but China is learning to live with the virus, as we all do. Now, this is from China. People all over the country are having lots of colds at the moment. Now, this is from my 2 or 3 sources I have in China. Now, I can't tell you who they are, but I do assure you they are genuine sources who I know, but aren't passing their names on for obvious reasons. Chengdu, for example, Monday the 5th of December, local government loosened restrictions. By the 12th, this is the writer in Chengdu, almost everyone I knew had COVID. Massive rate of spread. There's still stigma associated with the virus, unfortunately, and this is probably part of the reason why the lockdowns have been lifted so late. The draconian restrictions that were part of China's zero COVID policy have been lifted late. In Chengdu, apparently 80% or so have symptoms, about 20% are asymptomatic. Now, the symptoms appear to be, this is not a scientific survey, but it's based on experience in Chengdu this week. Headache, lack of energy, muscle pain and body pain. Now, everyone seems to get those. They seem to be pretty universal. Quite a lot of people also get dry, sore throat, cough, runny nose, nausea, insomnia, largely due to feeling hot and cold overnight. Some are reporting diarrhea, increased appetite. Now, all these other symptoms, of course, are common in Western Omicron BA5. Now, the increased appetite is a new one on me, but some people seem to be reporting it in China. Very little testing going on, but people are often determined to know, and that's what's generating a lot of these long queues. So a lot of the long queues that you're seeing is people trying to get tested, that we see on the media, people desperate to get tested to find out what's going on. But most of them, whether they're symptomatic or not, are being told that their tests are negative. So people still think the virus is very dangerous. So it looks like people are being told that they are negative, even if they're positive. So they're getting lots of negative results despite being symptomatic. Maybe the authorities want to avoid panic. Maybe they want to avoid shutdowns. Maybe they want to promote natural immunity because it's a complete reversal of their previous policy. So we see absolutely exponential spread going through all of China as we speak, and over the next few days, week or two, the vast majority of the population in China are going to be exposed. There are going to be some deaths with a very low infection fatality rate. And the Chinese people can be grateful that they're being infected with a derivative of Omicron BA5, not the original Wuhan virus. Now, moving on to the Moderna situation, this is really quite interesting. So yesterday reported that there's a new plant in the UK being built in cooperation with the UK government. Seems all quite cock-a-hoop about it in the government and Moderna. 250 million doses of mRNA vaccines a year are going to be produced. Now, the first product that Moderna made was, in fact, the COVID mRNA vaccine. That was their first marketed product. So it seems strange that the government of the UK, Australia and Canada are going flat out on what is a relatively untested technology, and yet that is what is happening. So let's just look at that in a little detail because it's pretty interesting. This is the chief executive of Moderna, the capacity that we're building in the UK, that they're committed to buying the product over the next 10 years. So there you go. My politicians have committed my tax money to buy Moderna vaccines over the next 10 years. That looks like it's contractual. Why would they do that with a completely untested new technology that's only from a company that's only really produced two products, the monovalent and the bivalent vaccine? 250 million doses a year are going to be produced, clinical trials in the UK, as we said in yesterday's video. And we also noted that yesterday that we're not allowed to know about the money. Details of the strategic partnership are commercially sensitive. In other words, you're not going to find out. Completely unacceptable. Now, the UK Prime Minister, I've had a lot of questions about this, Mr. Rishi Sunak. Now, this is from The Guardian in 2020. Mr. Sunak refused to disclose whether he will profit from a surge in the share price of Moderna. That was in 2020. Now, this Thelema company, or trust fund or whatever, a hedge fund, I'm not really sure the difference. The only reason I'm talking about this is because I believe it has relevance to health. But Thelema has invested as a $500 million, $500 million investment in the US-based Moderna. And Mr. Sunak was a founding partner of Thelema Partners and one of its executives managing it in the US office until he left in 2013. Now, whether he still has a big stake in this or not, or whether his wife has a big stake in this, I don't think we know, because it's registered in the Cayman Islands, which is a notorious tax haven, which doesn't make company records public. Now, of course, no one is accusing Mr. or Mrs. Sunak of anything, but it's not a good look. It's quite honestly, it's not a good look. We would prefer much greater transparency on this, because $500 million is a lot of money that this fund had invested in Moderna. And given that there's just been a massive political decision to have a massive partnership with Moderna, this is not a good look. It's not a good look for the Sunaks, quite honestly, and it's not a good look for the United Kingdom. So I would urge transparency on that. I don't believe there is corruption here, actually, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. So Moderna goes global. Canada, new factory in Montreal, Laval. Mr. Trudeau took part in a groundbreaking ceremony, so Justin Trudeau involved. It should be completed in 2024-25. It's going to produce 100 million mRNA vaccine doses per year. And as far as we know, it's only the mRNA vaccine doses. Now, do try and catch yesterday's video. We looked at a lot of reassurances that I'd want to be given, that we haven't been given. by the UK government, and as far as I can see, we haven't been given them by the Australian government or the Canadian government either. Questions to answer there, and we're not getting the answers. But there again, I don't suppose we need to know. All these clever people can make these decisions for our benefit, can't they? They're going to make COVID, influenza, respiratory syncytial viruses. So Canadians planning to make a lot more COVID vaccines against the influenza and respiratory syncytial virus. Innovation Minister, Monsieur Champagne, Canada committed to purchase a certain number of vaccines. So again, looks like the Canadian government have stomped up cash, the same as the UK government. How much? We don't know, of course. Part of a 7-year agreement. It was 10 years in the UK. Canadians seem to have haggled them down to 7 years, workforce, etc. And not to leave out our friends in the Antipodes. This is Monash University seems to be involved in this. This is their press release here. It's going to be in Monash Technology Precinct, Victoria. I'm pretty sure that's Melbourne area. COVID-19, influenza, respiratory syncytial viruses, vaccines against those. 100 million doses per year. They're all mRNA vaccines. And Professor Gardner bring together all of the elements of an mRNA innovation ecosystem. So, new term for you there, an mRNA ecosystem that would deliver long-term health benefit, long-term health and economy benefits for the community. I would have thought an academic would want to do the trials before making the claim of health benefits. Personally, I would like to see evidence of health benefits before I claim that we were definitely going to get health benefits. Just a few interesting pieces of news there. So, huge Moderna investment in mRNA technology. The questions that we asked yesterday not answered in Australia, Canada, United Kingdom. And of course, this is in addition to the massive manufacturing capacity Moderna already has in the United States on a company that's only had a couple of products come to market. Strange but true, and clearly the need for financial transparency. The reason I mention this is, and I'm not saying it is in this case at all, but if there were financial corruptions that are impacting people's health, I would feel justified in talking about that, because that relates to health and well-being, which is what this channel is all about. So questions to answer from the UK government, Australian government, and Canadian government, as far as I can see. And in China, there are going to be people getting sick. There are going to be some people dying, but with a very low infection fatality rate. And all the time we're speaking now, the natural immunity in China is growing exponentially with the virus. Thank you for watching, and have a really great Christmas.